On your Friday episode of Locked On Raptors, we have a long-standing rule on this podcast. We don't talk about Giannis. But fine, we'll talk about Giannis.
You are Locked On Raptors, your daily Toronto Raptors podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? And welcome to another episode of Locked On Raptors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It is Friday, January the 30th, and I'm your host, Sean Woodley. I've been covering the Raptors now for 12 seasons on various platforms. You can find all my work over on Blue Sky. You can find the show on Instagram. You can join us in the Locked On Raptors Discord server. Link in the description of the podcast. 100% free to join. We'd love to see you there. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. And we're off and running here on your Friday edition of Locked On Raptors. And here to talk about Giannis on this podcast, where we don't talk about Giannis, is someone who I know is very excited to talk about Giannis. It is Katie Heindl from Basketball Feelings and NBA TV. Katie, how the hell are you? Are you ready to talk about Giannis?
I guess so. When you asked me to do this yesterday, the sound that escaped me. But yeah, here I am. I'm ready.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Look, I think we're both pretty exhausted by the whole Giannis saga. I think everyone is exhausted by the Giannis saga. It, of course, came to a bit of a head this week, sort of, maybe, I don't know, we'll see, when it was reported in Shams' typical broken English that Giannis Antetokounmpo is not asking for a trade. Maybe he's suggesting he would like a trade. Call it a theoretical trade request that's not a trade request. Maybe it's like to me, it feels like just the most transparent attempt to save face since Nancy Pelosi wore kente cloth. But whatever you want to call it, Katie, it is seemingly at some point now or in the next 6 months, Giannis will not be on the Milwaukee Bucks. I feel like we did this episode 2 months ago and had similar feelings about it. So. I'm kind of getting deja vu right now. The Raptors come up tangentially in this, Katie, as like, maybe they'll be a team that, throws out a big offer for Giannis. They got the contracts. I'm just so tired. Do you want to see the Toronto Raptors trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo, Katie?
No. And like you, I've written about this so many times. I wish he would just come out and say it. Yeah. Like, having
You're not fooling anyone, man.
Shams carry water for you. I think the wording was like ready for a new home.
Ready for a new home at the deadline or in the summertime, maybe.
Yeah. It's very interesting to me to go to such lengths to say, and also have like Doc Rivers say on your behalf, like team, like front office say on your, like ownership rather say on your behalf. Yeah, we're invested. This guy's not going anywhere. He's such a good guy. He's never said he wanted to leave. Mm-hmm. Like, why go to such lengths to then still just say I'd like to explore other options. I'm not sure I want to end my career here. That's fine. Yeah.
It's like the non-self-aware version of when Woj on draft night was like, this team is zeroed in on this player. Like, he was part of the bit with the non-committal language. I don't think Giannis is really part of the bit on this one.
Yeah. And I have seen, again, speaking of non-committal language, and how much stock you want to put into reports, but that the Raptors are clear. What was it, like clear underdogs or like underdog favorites? Which again, it like that doesn't mean anything in terms
Words
of targeting.
Have so much less meaning than they used to.
Targeting Giannis, yeah, I know, and it pains me.
Yeah, it
really
sucks.
Pains me.
It's really bad.
So no, my feelings haven't changed. If anything, I think they've gotten a bit stronger, given I know what we're going to talk about, the Raptors in the current state that they're in, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think, again, the non-committal sense of this guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, look, and I think it should be said, like, if the Raptors trade for Giannis, it will be good for me personally. Like, I would be personally invested in, oh, Giannis is on the Raptors now. This probably means more people click on my stuff. Therefore, I can buy the fancy version of beans at the store instead of the store brand. But all of that being true, I still do not want this for the basketball team that I like. Look, there's lots of reasons. I think, apart from sort of what a dweeb he's kind of proving himself to be over this last little while, I think like there are legitimate on-court reasons, particularly health, that I just think it brings so much risk for a team that just got normal, Katie, after a few years of being decidedly not normal. They are set up to kind of incrementally build this thing. They have good players. They have, potential avenues for improvement. They still have all of their draft picks. And to just go and burn all of them, which is what it will take in all likelihood to go get Giannis, just doesn't feel like the right time, especially considering the team left behind, I don't think would really be like, maybe they have a puncher's chance in this year's Eastern Conference, although incorporating a guy who A, is hurt for the next 4 to 6 weeks, and B, would maybe get like 2 to 3 weeks of playing time before the playoffs to figure out the fit with it. Like, that's just like, I don't know, man. I don't see how that all comes together in time to really make it worth it for this season. Maybe it's like, oh, we got him for next year, we can give him an extension, all that stuff. But I think with his health history, with the calf stuff that keeps coming up, like, there's just so much risk here. And I don't think, for basketball reasons and for general vibes reasons, it's a sensible thing for the Raptors to go and do. Do you have like if you're the Raptors, you make the call, like, is there an offer out there, Katie, that you feel like, okay, well, if you can get him for that, then sure, you should do it. It's probably going to take more than whatever that is, to be clear. As Mark and I reported yesterday, they want all of the young players and all the picks. Very reasonable stuff for a team that is not in a particularly good bargaining position, but I guess you got to start there and work your way down, I suppose. This is how negotiations work, or would maybe I would know that if I had any clue of how to do a negotiation. But is there like a RJ plus Pirtle plus the picks? Like, would you throw that out there and just see if they take it? Or are you just kind of not picking up the phone at all, blocking John Horst's number and saying, moving on, let's just play the season with the guys we have?
I think it is kind of a flex to be like, no, we don't. We don't.
We're over it. Yeah.
I'm busy. Sorry. I missed your call. I don't think that's what happens, because, you got to do your due diligence, right?
Sure,
Bobby Webster will, of course, dangle something, or just like, you got to listen. Like, you'll pick up the phone and listen. Yeah. In this case, I think, yes, you're bare minimum there. That idea of a trade, sure. Yeah. That's not what it would take. No. Giannis hasn't. It's very interesting to kind of see how they kind of tank their own perception of value, right? Sure. I think AD has kind of done this in the last couple of seasons. I don't think Giannis is there yet, despite, this sort of like, will he, won't he, lasting now seasons, he's still, even with the calf strain stuff, like, he's still fundamentally, I think, as much of like an intact star player as you could hope for. Yeah. Very, very good. Yeah. So it would take a gutting, essentially, of the Raptors roster as it stands, which is why, at face value, I do get the presumption of like, well, if there's a star that Toronto can land in this sort of unconventional way, this is the path to do it. This is the way to go after it. I do get that logic and that thinking. Just from a functionality level, I think Giannis plus whoever is left, and if Scotty is the only untouchable person that's left, that's not a functional team. No. So that is also where I waffle. Unfortunately, on like the very boring practical side of things, of like, well, you actually don't have people anymore to be playing those positions, even assuming you get somebody else from the Bucks as well in a trade like that.
Yeah, all the thing about all the other Bucks players is they're not good.
Yeah. I mean, come on, Kyle. We're always rooting for Kyle Kuzma.
Are we?
Part of me always is. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it's a well taken point, Sean. So yeah,
Great. A Gary Trent Jr. reunion. Can't wait.
The functionality of return, it doesn't match what and who you would lose.
Yeah, like this team's strength right now is it's got a lot of dudes who can play, and if you're getting into the business of like a 3 or 4 for 1 type of trade, 5 for 2, whatever it is to make the salary work,
yeah,
you're bringing Giannis back to a team that him and Scotty alone, pretty clunky fit. Like, I'm sure they could figure it out. Talented people can figure it out. No one would ever score on that team, presumably, but like the offense could get a little bit sticky. Are you sending out Emmanuel Quickly and RJ Barrett and leaving yourself with 0 guard play? Are you sending yourself out Brandon Ingram and taking away that shot creation agent, the sort of Chris Middleton to Giannis in this sort of new construction of the team, theoretically? Like, I don't know if that's a good idea either. And you just leave yourself so thin at the back end with, by the way, all of your bullets fired and the Bucks likely in control of your draft for the next 7 years. It's just not the right place, right time. And I think that's okay. Like, it was fun for those, 5 years where it seemed like it was a possibility that the Raptors might go and land Giannis in some sort of stroke of genius by Masai Ujiri, and the long game of the friendship between Masai and Giannis finally paying off. Masai's gone. The team's normal. And I think there's just an element of, okay, this just isn't the right guy right now. And the right guy will come along at some point. The right guy doesn't need to come along halfway through the first good season they've had in a long time either, right? Like, you can play this thing out. The Raptors didn't trade for Kawhi Leonard in the middle of 2014-15, or in the middle, at the end of in the summer of 2014, right? Like, you can play this out a little bit. They've got some runway. All their guys are under contract, and a lot of those contracts will get more tradable and valuable as the time goes on, and they get closer to expiring too. So, yeah, I am firmly against, which is interesting because I spent the last 5 years being like, how do you get this guy? You should go try to find a way to get this guy, please. It's wild how things change, Katie. We're going to come back. Going to get into the sort of the spiritual element of this, right? The sort of team as it exists, the chemistry they've got, and why something like a Giannis trade or any other big move before the deadline feels like maybe a betrayal of what a delight it's been so far this year to be a Raptors fan. We will talk about that coming up in just a second. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. And look, this is the best place to buy tickets for the stuff you want to go to. Simply put, whether it's an NBA game, you want to be part of the arena, the crowd, the energy. The Raptors are home on Sunday against the Utah Jazz. Maybe you want to see them blow out the Utah Jazz on Sunday. You can get tickets at Game Time. You can also do it for comedy, concerts, theater shows. It's all there for you to go and peruse. And it is super easy. I am a longtime Game Time user. It's my favorite ticket app for many reasons, including the fact that they got all in pricing. You see the price up front. There's no surprise fees at checkout. Big deal for me. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. That's code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. And remember, it's gametime.co, not gametime.com. Gametime.co. Go check it out. Back at it here with Katie Heindl. Just a reminder before we keep on talking about Giannis, as we are not allowed to do on this podcast, the Locked On Raptors Everydayer Club is open for you to sign on up. And right now, we're offering you a free month to get started with the code DEADLINE. Just go to the link in the description of the podcast or go to lockedonraptors.supercast.com. Sign on up. You will get ad-free episodes of the show every single day. You get access to the Locked On Network Discord, which is lots of fun. Starting to blow up over there in the NBA chat. It's good times. And also, you can get some other bonus fun perks, extra bonus programming and things like that by signing on up. Link in the description of the podcast. Go ahead and do the thing. All right, Katie. The vibes of this team are quite high. We had a mailbag question from our pal Nico in the Discord asking about sort of what we would need to see for this season to usurp the title defense season as the most fun season in Raptors history. I don't think we're quite there, but I do think this is already like a shortlisted fun season, considering preseason expectations, the stuff we've seen go down, Scotty Barnes' emergence, all this stuff. It's been an absolute delight to watch these Raptors figure things out, the ups and downs, the trials, the tribulations coming through on the other side. It's been really fun. I feel like the front office owes it to this team to not upset the apple cart, as it were, too much at the deadline with some big grandiose move. Are you with me on that? And are you afraid they might go and do that anyway?
Well, first to the question, I think it's really interesting. I think the main parallel is probably the unexpectedness, right? The surprise.
Totally.
The title defense season, I don't think any of us went into that anticipating the level of competitive focus, but also new levity, that group had, fresh off a title. And how that carried through, like as long as it did, pretty much right up until the NBA season stopped. And likewise this season, I think the unexpectedness of, you and I think everybody else around the team was kind of talking about them being middle of the road, definitely not a play-in, playoff kind of goal, one round, maybe make some noise, right? And that was kind of the expected ceiling. So from them to bust out beyond that has been I think that's the most exciting thing. And that's what the season has in common. It hasn't surpassed it yet to me. I'll be totally honest. I'm very biased. I don't know that any.
No,
that was a very special group
and
a very special feeling that group had.
Yeah.
But I think the spontaneity of a group like this group too, also figuring something out in real time and kind of recognizing, oh, we're really good in real time. That's always a treat to watch, and like the small kind of individual emergences of like, Brandon Ingram, Scotty Barnes, RJ, obviously, Shed.
All murray-boyles. Love a good rookie.
Yeah. Exactly. Those are very cool storylines on their own. Anyway, I think that puts enough of a case behind my second point, which is, I think as a front office, you also want to take some enjoyment and some credit in the fact that the thing that you had a vision for this entire time, very stubbornly, and we're kind of getting picked apart for, has finally crystallized.
Yeah.
And that your vision actually wasn't just a fever dream, that it's turned into something real and good and tangible, that is also still learning and getting better and perhaps exceeding expectations. So in that sense, well, I would hesitate to say any front office thinks of themselves as an entity that owes the team anything, right? Like it's an interesting question of like, is a team beholden to the front office or vice versa? Sure. Anyway, I just feel like Darko, Bobby, everybody else who's kind of like shifted around in roles, right? Like Dan Tolzman, for example, it must feel very good. And I think they'd maybe want to sit in this feeling for a little while. Like I believe Darko when he said the other day, like he said he wouldn't look at the standings until the All-Star break.
Yeah.
And he finally did and was like pleasantly surprised, I guess, right? Or was like, oh yeah, we're fourth. So I think that's like, it's always a surprise to me when I check that they're still hanging in. So yeah, I think this group is it's too good. And there's still too much of a question mark in terms of how good can they still get? Like how much better than this can they still get than to explode it all?
Yeah, I'm with you. And just like the amount of upheaval that it would be, especially for a Giannis trade, even going down to like a Domantas Sabonis or whatever, right? Like we could talk.
Yeah, I don't. The vibes of that also not good.
We'll get into that in a second, I think. But just like, normal teams don't do this, right? Like this is not normal team behavior to go and make this kind of just cataclysmic move to the sort of bedrock you've built. And look, maybe you come out and you're better for it, you're more talented, whatever. But there has to be more of a driving force behind this stuff than simply, well, we got more talent, so therefore it was a good move. Like, call me sappy. Like these are the best kinds of seasons. Like for me, the same way that like cumin is the through line of all of my favorite dishes. Like lack of expectation and overshooting them is the through line of all the best seasons of being a fan. And to go and sort of then thrust upon what would be enormous expectations if you add Giannis, because that's kind of the pool you're playing in if you go and do that with 20 something games left in the season with him hurt, like you're setting yourself up for the season to end as a disappointment, because there's no way things turn around to the point and sort of get rolling and up to full speed in time to actually do anything this year. And then you're putting all your eggs into next year's basket and all that stuff. Yeah, it's just like, it's not the time, and they've missed the window for this to be a viable marriage between player and star. Maybe revisit it in the summer. Maybe the summer happens and you get absolutely waxed in the playoffs, and Giannis still has not been moved, and you recalibrate. Fine, like that, sure. But I think you do, in a sense, owe it to yourselves, if you're Bobby and Dan Tolzman and the rest, and to the team to kind of close the bow. And I do think they owe it to them to just let them ride it out and maybe sort of make a small, what is happening?
Dylan just got back with the dogs, and I think they're so happy to be out of the cold that they're just running around in circles. And because Captain is 13 years old, he galumps more than he runs, and he tends to run into things. So there's a lot of slamming. Anyway, I'm just going to mute intermittently.
That's okay. Yeah, the point was basically done. Yeah, I do think they owe it to the team to just kind of ride it out and maybe make some small additions on the margins to help enhance the team without throwing off the vibe in the room. And we'll get into that coming up in a second here, Katie. We're going to get into what we actually hope to see the Raptors do between now and Thursday as the deadline looms. We'll do that to close things out in just a sec. Today's episode is brought to you by friends over at FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff, the final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is the game everyone has been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger. It's the perfect way to cap the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to the final whistle. And hey, sometimes you can bet on the actual game and the happenings on the field, or you can do the stuff that the Super Bowl is all about. How long will the anthem be? What color will the Gatorade be? Who will win the coin toss? What kind of coin will they use? All of these things are probably available on FanDuel in addition to the actual football props. So you can go and check all of those out at FanDuel. If you're a new customer, just bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, season's over. No more football. So last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Back at it here with Katie Heindl. Seems as though the dogs have calmed down.
Yeah.
Beautiful. If they want to keep, maybe the dogs just don't want to see Giannis on the Toronto Raptors. Maybe that's the reason for the commotion. All right, Katie. 6 days before the deadline. We've talked it to death at this point, but maybe we see some action over the weekend, and we're talking about a new look Toronto Raptors team on Monday. Probably not, because people like to wait till deadlines, because why not? This is how our brains work. But is there any like hopes and dreams you have for the Toronto Raptors before the trade deadline? Obviously, the whole duck the tax thing is going to be a thing. Ochai Agbaji seems to be dangling out there. Do they bring someone back who kind of fills a positional need for him? Is there someone who makes less money than him enough to duck the tax while also accomplishing that? Do other guys got to be added in? All these sort of things in play. But is there anything that you want to see the Raptors do, or frankly not do, outside of the Giannis thing between now and Thursday?
I don't want to see them do much.
Yeah,
I'm pretty fine with them being quiet, and then hearing later that they were the reason why like several trades fell through, because they decided not to play. They decided not to play ball. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I mean, because like theoretically, a huge Giannis trade would probably take, just given his salary and everything, and like the cap constraints for pretty much every single team right now. Mm-hmm. It would be like a multi-team spectacle. So
definitely, yeah,
that would be fun to hear that the Raptors just tossed a wrench
is forced to ride up the winter in Milwaukee
plans,
because the Raptors ruined it all.
They're like, no, we don't really care to do much right now. Mm-hmm. I'm still too curious, to go back to what we were talking about before. I'm still too curious about the individual stories that this team has, and how those people are still going to improve over this season. I think Ochai, Agbaji, Grady Dick, like some guys that I've been a bit reticent or maybe like wanted more from. Mm-hmm. I still think there's plenty of season for that to come.
Sure.
I guess a wish, like outside of the deadline, would be for Pirtle to get healthy.
Would be nice
again, and kind of stay consistently healthy, because I think something like that also looms as a concern, right? In any potential deals that could happen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, I don't really think you need to tinker and be too finicky with the group that you have, you know, to your point about Ochai, and is there somebody worth kind of trying to like nickel and dime with in terms of the salary, like coming down a little bit, right? Yeah, I feel very stubbornly set in the fact that the team is good. They're playing beyond expectation. Aside from Wembanyama, I was thinking about this when we were on a break. Star-driven teams, like superstar-driven teams, and Wembanyama is not necessarily a superstar, is when she sees like a generational change in how basketball is going to be played, and those only come around.
Transcends the term
every so often. Yeah, the teams that we see, you know, leading and consistently winning in either conference, they're not star pairings or led by like singular superstars. They're certainly led by players who have become that, I think, by virtue of the cast around them, right? The Thunder and the Pistons I'm talking about specifically, but and I think the Raptors are more on track for that sort of team makeup. Yeah. So that's where I boringly stand.
Yeah, I mean, I would not be like upset if they made a small move to, you know, get some big man insurance behind Pirtle, as much as I still think against like 80% of opponents, I'm perfectly content to just roll with the Colin Murray-Boyles, Mamu, Scotty trio at the 5 because they've been damn good. You know, having just like a bruiser who can go like crash the offensive glass or something, you know, just to give them some versatility, some other ways to play if in fact Pirtle can't come back. I'm not opposed to that. I don't think it should be someone who you're committing to long-term necessarily, because if Pirtle does come back and can actually play games at some point this year or next, you're going to just be kind of overloaded with sort of similar big men type thing too. So I'm like, you know, small on the margins move, rental type thing, fine with that as like a stopgap as you figure out the center position. Other than that, yeah, like I don't care if they duck the tax personally. I know there are reasons why you want to duck the tax for, you know, like repeater reasons down the line and stuff like that. It's frankly not my job to figure that out. And I'm sure they will figure that out some creative way. They only have to cut like less than $1 million in salary. I'm sure they will find some avenue to ducking the tax if they really are compelled. Where there's a will, there's a way, and all of that. But yeah, I'm just like, I'm sitting out on the Domantas Sabonis thing. I'm certainly not doing John Morant or Anthony Davis, which I think both seem dead because those guys are hurt. And I do think because so many of the guys who are theoretically in the market to be traded at this deadline are currently hurt, Katie, I think we are going to see a pretty quiet deadline. And this is another reason why I'm holding off if I'm the Raptors and not doing anything rash. I think this summer is shaping up to be wildly explosive. I think we're going to see a lot of dudes moved when it's easier to move. We're now a couple more years on into the CBA, and sort of, you know, teams have figured out exactly, you know, how it works for their teams and how it doesn't. And I think we're going to see a ton of movement this summer as sort of a breaking of the dam that it feels like we're kind of up against right now. And like a lot of moving parts, inevitably it's going to cause guys to shake loose who maybe you didn't think would shake loose, who you can hop on as a team. And I don't think you want to be early to the house party by making a Domantas Sabonis move right now when something more interesting might come along in the summertime that actually more sort of fits your needs for the long term next to Scotty Barnes, Colin Murray-Boyles, Brandon Ingram, whoever you kind of deem as the core. Like, I'm just holding off till the summer. If this team was 20-29, yeah, sure, go crazy, do something nuts. But they're not. They're good. They're in a good position. Even if you kind of look at the Eastern Conference hierarchy and say, okay, the Cavs are heating up, the Knicks, the Celtics, the Pistons are all probably a cut above. To me, that's not a reason to derail what has been the most fun season we've seen in years for this team. And yeah, I'm just kind of there. Domantas Sabonis, you cringed earlier when I mentioned him. Do you have any thoughts on that one at all? Like, it just seems like I can understand from a like, ooh, he'd just be like a supercharged version of Pirtle and their fun little elbow actions and stuff. But beyond that, I like, Do I need to be paying $45 million to a guy who I may not want closing all of the important games because it turns out he's not a very good defensive player? I don't know.
I was going to say the only vibes picked like center edition I'd want, and this would never happen in a million years, but it would be like, can you magically get Steven Adams? Can you magically, get that guy in the roster? He would be a essential and very like seamless fit.
His injury is very, very upsetting, by the way. Absolutely.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is. I think I cringe with Sabonis just because one, I think his sort of dourness in the past few seasons, like that could just be playing for the Kings, man. Like that's going to take, that's going to wring the life out of anybody. And we've seen that happen. So
this dude was teammates with Tyrese Halliburton and De'Aaron Fox like 3 years ago. And now look, Dennis Schroeder, lots of Dennis Schroeder.
And that's going to grate on you too, right? Yeah. For someone who was like a professional skateboarder, he's not very chill, honestly, I got to say.
It's total sidebar, but there needs to be a book written about Dennis Schroeder's NBA career. One of the more insane characters over the last decade plus, just as far as ups, downs, weird fits, bad vibes, and random bursts of, wow, this guy is the MVP of the World Cup? What the hell? Anyway, I digress.
Anyway, so the Sabonis thing could like turn around, I'm sure, if he was on a team with like positive vibes and also a bit of a plan, would be prepared to be completely proven wrong on my perspective. I think, again, it just right now, like it wouldn't just be a 1-for-1 situation. So that's where, again, I have hesitation. I do want to go back quickly to just like what you said about like where they are in the standings and, the other teams and like if the Cavs end up heating up and kind of surpass them, which looks like it may happen. That's fine because again, I think like making this sort of big swing win now move, like doesn't make any sense because this team is not supposed to win this season. They're supposed to like, yes, they've certainly like outplayed and surpassed the expectations. It doesn't mean that they're going to take that, unfortunately, all the way. They're not coming out of the East. Yeah, basically, that's not going to happen. Yeah, and like even the biggest big swing trade wouldn't make that happen. So again, I just like the trajectories are misaligned.
Yeah, 100%. Could not agree more. It's like if your preseason expectations were what I think most people's expectations were, you should be a pig at the trough right now, gleefully slopping up the 29-20 start they've had. If you are of the mind that no, they should be competing for a championship this year, then you're going to be disappointed probably. But that's, I think, a stupid way to have come into the season or to have adapted your expectations, even with them winning games. I think, frankly, like, you need to have a little bit more of a level head about this stuff. Yes, they went on a 9-0 stretch early in the season. That didn't change their station. Them going on this run lately hasn't changed the grand scheme of expectation. And just ride it out, man. It's a lot of fun. Yes, there are flaws in the team. Yes, there are guys who may need to be upgraded. None of them are precluding them from being 29-20 and a hell of a fun team to watch right now. Katie, this was a hell of a fun podcast. Thank you so much for hopping on. As always, anything you want to promote for the good people out there?
I'm on NBA TV on Saturday.
Hell yeah.
You can watch that from 7 to 9 is our show, our Saturday show. Basketball Feelings. That's it.
Pay for Basketball Feelings, okay? It's really good. Honestly, it's incredible stuff, and your guest contributors have been fantastic.
Thank you.
Cannot recommend enough spending the money to support Katie's endeavor with Basketball Feelings. It is the single best area for basketball writing on the internet. Place for what am I saying? It's great. Go subscribe, fools.
Good area.
Yeah, we're gonna leave it there. Thank you for following, subscribing, rating, reviewing, telling a friend. Join the Discord, link in the description of the podcast. Sign up for the Everydayer Club with a free month with the code DEADLINE, all caps, at the link in the description of the podcast as well. And I promised yesterday, I made a donation to the Immigrant Law Center of Minnesota on behalf of the podcast. And I promised I would shout out some of the people in the Locked On Raptors Discord and listener universe who also sent in a donation as a sort of sign of good faith. Shout out to Nico, who's donated $25. He's wonderful. I said I would say a nice thing about all these people. Nico, champion IQ boy in the Locked On Raptors Discord server. We're both on IQ Island, baby. We're eating good. Green Giant JG, donated as well. He's our friend from the UK. He is the single most enjoyable winner of the Locked On Raptors Fantasy League I've ever had to talk to on the podcast. I've only talked to 2 people on the podcast who have won the league. Josh is my favorite one. Sorry, Cause. And also Jeff Exelon, our dear pal, donated $25 as well. Very cool. And shout out to Jeff. He's a good fella. And again, one of the great optimists of the Locked On Raptors Discord. Makes me feel sane sometimes. And so, yeah, thanks to those of you who donated. If you still want to donate and get a shout out on the show, Immigrant Law Center of Minnesota, link in the description of the podcast. Help our friends out south of the border. And we will leave it there. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend. Check out the postcast tonight with Zulfi and Dwayne after Raptors Magic. They'll have it again after the Jazz game on Sunday. And I will talk to you Monday. Thanks for hanging. Bye-bye. Ooh, hockey puck bucket. That's fun. Lost the ball, but didn't lose the touch.